Hello, it's good to have you tune in this Wednesday. Top stories tonight. The House of Representatives Committee on Appropriations says details of Budget 2016 have been submitted to the Clerk of the National Assembly for transmission to the Executive. Now, that is bound to be of interest as Nigerians anxiously await when the President will put pen to paper to turn the bill into an act. In other news, trial of Senate President continues, but former National Security Advisor's trial is adjourned. Also tonight, the Inspector General of Police says from now on, the psychological stability of policemen will be ascertained before they are allowed to bear lethal arms. Plus, the field queues are beginning to ease out. There's so much ahead on News Extra with me, Aisha Bello Mustafa. Wherever you are across the world, a very warm welcome. The fourth Nuclear Security Summit, hosted by United States President Barack Obama, may have come and gone, but humanity will continue to appreciate its impact on global peace and socio-economic development for a long time to come. In this report, Adamu Sambo examines the gains recorded by Nigeria at the summit.
President Muhammadu Buhari was among the nearly 60 world leaders at the summit meant to enhance international cooperation towards addressing the threat of nuclear terrorism as the security challenge of the 21st century. In doing that, however, the Nigerian leader insisted that the rights of his country and others to harness nuclear energy and technology for socio-economic development be respected. And that was exactly what happened as the communique issued by the world leaders declared that the measures towards strengthening nuclear security will not hamper the rights of countries to develop and use nuclear energy for peaceful purposes.
It is his administration's thinking, and world leaders have all tapped into it.
And it is good for Nigeria because, you know, we are trying to get power going and we can use nuclear energy.
Apart from that, President Muhammadu Buhari, also at a meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, secured the support of the United States government in not only the planned rehabilitation and reconstruction program of the Northeast, but also in the recovery of looted funds stashed abroad.
We received very positive signs from the United States government that those Nigerians who have lodged a lot of money that cannot be properly accounted for, it will be returned to Nigeria.
For them, Nigeria, under the leadership of Mr. President, they're very keen that it should succeed, and they'll do everything in their powers to partner with us to make that happen.
The Nigerian leader also met the Prime Ministers of Denmark and Japan, who promised to support efforts at curbing illegal shipments of the nation's crude oil through the Gulf of Guinea, as well as the fight against insurgency. Similarly, a select group of Nigerian professionals in the United States also met the president with a promise to use their wealth of experience in charting a supportive course for national development.
It is high time that we start giving back to the country.
In Nigeria, we don't have a vehicle that is meant specifically for our culture, climate, and terrain. We need that. And here is a short, very concise proposal on the contribution I can make to Nigeria.
No better time than now will Nigerians in Nigeria and Nigerians in diaspora join hands together to build the Nigeria of our dreams.
But before the close of the summit, an opportunity was created for an informal interaction between President Muhammadu Buhari and some other world leaders, and this is what they had to say about the Nigerian leader.
Mr. President, you're doing all right? I hope all the accommodations have been okay. Good. Have you met Prime Minister Trudeau?
Very much. Pleasure.
He's doing a good job.
Yes, indeed. The Canadian Prime Minister responded to President Barack Obama's endorsement of the genuine commitment by President Muhammadu Buhari to a better Nigeria. The bottom line here is that the Change Nigeria project is indeed a reality. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And back home, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says harmonization of demographic data is very important for national development planning, especially some of the Buhari presidency's social investment plans. The Senior Special Assistant Media and Publicity, Laolu Akonde, says the Vice President made this known while receiving a delegation from the National Population Commission. The Vice President tasked the Commission to conduct a reliable, cost-effective and acceptable census, bearing in mind the irregularities that have trailed some of the previous census exercises. On the part of the National Population Commission, the chairman noted that the commission is working with other agencies to produce a single platform of data management for the country. President Muhammadu Buhari has pledged Nigeria's commitment and support for sustaining and enhancing the fraternal relationship existing goodwill with the government and people of Benin Republic. The president said this in a message at the presidential inauguration of President Patrice Talon of Benin Republic. Gabriel Odu reports that President Buhari was represented by the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
That gun salute signaled the commencement of the presidential inauguration, guided by precision and officialdom. Nigeria's president was among many other heads of state who acknowledged Benino's commitment to entrenching democracy.
We're extremely grateful to the government and people of Benin because although they were not, members of the Chad Basin Commission of the Multinational Joint Task Force, but nevertheless they insisted on joining because they wanted to together to show solidarity with Nigeria in the fight against Boko Haram. And they really have been extremely cooperative and made tremendous sacrifices for our common sub-region.
Nigeria's Charge d'Affaires, Beatrice Ikeku Thomas, promised to boost trade and cultural ties with Benin Republic.
Benin, in quotes, they consider themselves as 37 states of Nigeria, so more or less we are one.
Former Nigeria's ambassador to Benin Republic, Lawrence Ubishaki, lauded Nigeria's efforts towards a successful election.
Nigeria was about the only African country that gave physically towards the organization of the election.
The election that brought Patrice Talon to power was contested by 13 candidates. The inauguration also is taking place in Porto Novo because this is the political capital of the country, while Cotonou is the economic capital. From Porto Novo, Gabriel Odu, NTA News.
Chairman, House Committee on Appropriation, Representative Abdul Mumin Jibrin says details of the 2016 appropriation bill have been submitted to the Clerk of the National Assembly for onward transmission to the executive arm of government. This was at a media chat with a journalist in Abuja. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Ezumba has the details.
Given the challenge the 2016 budget came with, coupled with high expectations from Nigerians, the chairman of the committee, Representative Abdul Mumin Jibril, stressed that the committee did a thorough job in line with policy of government.
The budget we just signed off with my colleague in the Senate, to the best of our knowledge, it's an implementable budget, and to a large extent, we believe that it's properly aligned with the policy thrust of the government. The presidential advisors on National Assembly will come over to pick the copies, and I have called both of them, and they're all aware that the details are ready.
The chairman, while pleading with Nigerians for understanding and patience, emphasized the administration's commitment to providing dividends of democracy to the people. From the National Assembly, Ifeanyi Ezumba, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly has directed its clerk to transmit details of the 2016 budget to President Buhari. The National Assembly, believing that the efficiency of the nation's economy is in market reforms and proper regulatory framework, is working to free up the economy for the private sector to take the lead. Some of the participants at the recently concluded National Assembly roundtable, who featured on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria, stressed the resolve of the 8th Assembly to create strong institutions to check abuses in the process. Ngofan Shaji tells us more.
The discussion centered majorly on the National Assembly's decision to do away with obsolete laws that impact on the nation's business environment negatively. The guest reiterated that for Nigeria, as the largest economy in Africa, to be able to compete globally, certain legislations such as antitrust laws and processes must be put in place to stop monopolies emerging across sectors of the economy and check abuses.
The laws are aimed at, one, mobilizing private sector capital into the infrastructure business and using innovation and private sector efficiency in driving the development of infrastructure and expanding infrastructure gaps.
One of the things we want to also achieve is to remove conflict between institutions.
Create institutions and regulatory institutions and frameworks that can protect the citizens against the harsh effect of market reforms.
These master plans and policies, if they are not underpinned with relevant legislations, you will find that they end up becoming papers, work that will remain on the shelves.
It is expected that these legislations will significantly impact on the nation's economy by improving the ease of doing business for micro, small and medium enterprises to grow, thereby creating jobs and reduce poverty.
One on warehousing, so that MSMEs, for instance, can use goods. Maybe farmers can use goods in agricultural warehouses as collateral for borrowing.
In Abuja, Kofan Shaji, NTA News.
As the Code of Conduct Tribunal continues hearing on the case against the Senate President Bukola Saraki, the prosecution team has tendered more documents as exhibits on charges of misappropriation of public funds, money laundering and falsification of assets. Isaac Onkwoma covered day 2 of the trial and now reports.
With the first prosecution witness, Michael Wetcast, taking the stand again, he gave more details of the EFCC investigation in the matter. He narrated how the defendant's 3 personal accounts with Guaranty Trust Bank Ilorin, comprising Naira, dollars and pound sterling accounts, were monitored due to suspicious transactions. One of such is the alleged cash lodgement of 600 and 900,000 Naira in 50 different transactions in one day by one Abdul Adama. That same day, another cash lodgement of same amounts was made by one Ubi in 20 different transactions. The witness said during investigations, it was discovered that the 2 depositors were personal aides to the defendant. Then, the pattern of cash lodgements changed to 50 individuals making deposits of between 600 and 900,000 Naira in one day. He also told the tribunal of loans taken by the defendant from GTB while he was governor of Kwara State, ranging between 380 million Naira and 200 million Naira to purchase landed properties in Lagos and Abuja. It was also alleged that the cash deposits was to repay the loans. Same was said of the defendant's dollar and pounds account with over $3.4 million transferred to the American Express Services Europe Limited to fund the defendant's American Service New York account, while more dollars were converted to an equivalent of over £1.5 million through Fortis Bank for the purchase of a property in London. The witness also told the tribunal how the defendant's salary rose from 254,412 Naira 25 kobo in July 2007 to over 500,000 Naira in 2011 and over 1.2 million Naira in 2012 after he had left office as governor and was already a senator. So far, the prosecution has tendered 25 exhibits before the tribunal, comprising allegations, bank statements, correspondences between the EFCC and the Presidential Committee on Sale of Government Houses, cash slips of money deposit banks, as well as receipts of payment to the Presidential Committee on Sale of Government Houses for purchase of properties in Lagos, among others. The defense is yet to cross-examine the prosecution witness.
Our country is rife with rumors right now. You know that very well. And we are grateful, we are happy for the opportunity that this tribunal provides for us to dispel these rumors, to answer the allegations.
It is depending on their objection. So to me, they have admitted those documents. And once they have been admitted by court, it's only in special conditions that the court can reverse it. So I have no fear about that.
Day 2 of the Senate President's trial by the Code of Conduct Tribunal, with proceedings taking more time than it did on the first day, which lasted for over 7 hours. The chairman of the tribunal, Justice Danladi Umar, has assured a speedy trial and dispensation of justice, even as the case is adjourned to the 18th of April. From the Code of Conduct Tribunal headquarters in Abuja, Isaac Nkuma, NTA News.
In the meantime, the trial of former National Security Advisor Colonel Sambo Dasuki and 4 others before Justice Hussein Baba Yusuf of the FCT High Court Abuja again met a brick wall Wednesday. Lead counsel to Colonel Dasuki, Joseph Daudu, sought a long adjournment to enable his client prepare for his trial. Dasuki, alongside Shuaibu Salisu, a former Director of Finance and Administration, Office of the NSA, Aminu Babakusa, a former General Manager NMPC, and 2 other companies are being prosecuted by the EFCC on a 19-count charge bordering on money laundering and criminal breach of trust to the tune of 13.5 billion naira. At the resumed hearing Wednesday, Daudu filed an application seeking adjournment of the trial on the grounds that he had not had access to documents in preparation for the trial. Daudu also prayed the court for an adjournment to enable the appeal court decide on the stay of proceedings before it. However, prosecuting counsel Rotimi Jacobs, who was represented by Adebisi Adeni, countered that the application for adjournment lacked merit, pointing out that there is no proof before the court that the defendant was denied access to his counsel. Justice Baba Yusuf ordered the prosecution to provide facilities for the first defendant to have access to his counsel during business hours between Monday and Friday. The matter was adjourned to May the 3rd, 2016 for commencement of trial. Former Senate President Ken Nnamani has commended the leadership style of President Muhammadu Buhari and calls on all Nigerians to fully support his administration in the face of challenging times. Senator Nnamani was speaking during a workshop on leadership and change management organized by the National Institute for Legislative Studies. Here is National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegunloye with the details.
Senator Ken Nnamani believes that it is not mere lip service that world leaders have consistently praised President Muhammadu Buhari, saying Nigeria's newfound respect in the international community is largely due to his leadership and courage.
I am very impressed to say that the recent visit of our president to the US, showing how Obama has recognized his leadership, things may not be working as fast as we had expected. But I believe that out of that very hardship, there will be some nice, positive things in our country.
We should all understand our various roles as leaders. It's very key to the development of any institution or organization.
Others gave talks on the art and principles of leadership and character values, while contributions came from management staff of NILS and the National Assembly. The Ken Nnamani Center for Leadership shares similar visions with NILS, especially with outreach ability to scholars in different fields of management and leadership.
A significant point that comes out of this workshop is that leadership does not begin or end with presidents, governors, monarchs, or any other highly placed individuals, but that leadership exists in each individual. And for positive changes to be realized, components of leadership like character, values and work ethics must be harnessed. From the National Institute for Legislative Studies headquarters, Abuja, Dennis Adigunle, NTA News.
There is a ray of hope that the current fuel situation in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, will soon be over as motorists now spend less time to get the product at filling stations. Mayor Ogidi reports on this and the efforts by the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in checking diversion of petrol.
As expected, the queues in some petrol stations are still long, while others are not. Be that as it may, the product is available and the lines are moving fast.
Actually, I'm lucky that I've been able to get fuel, though I queued for about one and a half hours.
I mean, the supply is better than previous days. With what is going on, maybe today or tomorrow, the whole queue will disappear.
Some motorists accused dealers that are not dispensing the product of hoarding. With this in mind, I interviewed an official of the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, who was incidentally on an inspection tour to some filling stations.
There's no case of hoarding because if we do catch, we will sell the product for free. But in most cases, there are false alarm because people are apprehensive.
Though it is a good news from some of the filling stations we have visited, as the product is available and being sold at the official price of 86.50 kobo in private stations and 86 naira in NNPC mega outlets. But this filling station here is not dispensing.
Actually, we just ran out of stock, not quite long, and we are expecting another truck for today.
To ensure that petroleum products are not diverted from the depot, the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Ibe Kachiku, and the Commandant General of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Abdullahi Ghana Muhammadu, held a meeting earlier, and this has started yielding results, as officials of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, arrested a cartel involved in allegedly diverting petroleum products.
One petroleum tanker driver that loaded from Diku and was heading to Abuja was attempting to bribe our boys. He wanted to give me about 500,000 naira so that the product would be diverted. The boy refused and he reported to us. Now it's because we're handling him and we intend to take him to court.
In Abuja, Mayor Ogidi, NTA News.
And reports from Lagos say although there are queues visible in most stations there, availability of fuel is also evident. Musa Toliat reports that lack of effective coordination at the stations remains the challenge.
There appears to be fuel in some of the fuel stations visited. Motorists wonder why they have remained on queues for hours without getting close to purchasing the commodity. Others say the presence of miscreants who are bent on buying fuel in jerrycans to resell to motorists remains a major challenge they face.
There is fuel. Even they will bring about 3 tanks for them. So that's why everybody was just thinking maybe we are going to see the fuel buy.
The solution is that they should reduce selling in jerrycan so that motorists can buy.
Since 5 o'clock I've been here. No movement. Today's work now is already gone.
The situation has taken its toll on free flow of traffic in some areas where fuel queues are evident.
What is, however, of great concern is the needless traffic caused by these queues, which demobilize motorists. A situation they say is unacceptable and, of course, requires the urgent attention of the state's traffic management authorities to check the ugly trend.
Although there are places where officials of LASMA take charge to decongest traffic, most places are locked down by fuel queues.
People are not queuing orderly because most people, when they just come and they queue on the road.
Anyone that is caught not moving along the streamlined traffic route to purchase petrol will be dealt with according to the Lagos State Traffic Act.
Officials of the Civil Defense Corps have been deployed to fuel stations to check black market operators.
We've gone around to tell them we don't want sale of fuel beyond the official price. We don't want sales of fuel in jerrycans for now, according to the order.
In Lagos, Musa Toliat, NTA News.
Now, let's bring you up to date with some security matters. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, has unveiled the 2016 Nigeria Army Doctrine with a challenge to officers to key in for effective implementation. This was at the first quarter Chief of Army Staff Conference in Abuja. Let's get the details of this from Defense Correspondent Muhammad Abdul Qadir.
The Nigerian Army Doctrine seeks to introduce new training models and improve standard in service delivery. The Chief of Army Staff described the Nigerian Army Doctrine as key driver to achieving operational and administrative strategic end state.
With this doctrine, I want to assure you that every information unit will have a copy.
The Army Boss set agenda for the conference to include a review of the roles of the service in internal security operations to checkmate threats to national cohesion and peaceful coexistence. On the Quick Impact project by the Nigerian Army in post-war rebuilding process, the Chief of Army Staff said the service is securing educational institutions in the Northeast.
The Army is partnering with some states to get the education, the schools, function properly.
Also on the front burner of discourse at the conference is the takeoff of the aviation corps of the service as newly trained technicians have been deployed to the Northeast and the pilots due to complete their training next month. Participants at the conference are looking at ways to consolidate on the recent achievements and advancements of the troops to finally clear the remnants of Boko Haram terrorists in the Northeast. From the Army Headquarters Command Officers Mess, Abuja, Muhammad Abdul Qadir, NTA News.
And the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, says regimentation and professionalism in the Nigeria Air Force is another way of repositioning the service. The Air Chief said this at a quarterly meeting held with the regimental sergeant majors and the air warrant officers in Abuja. Here is Defense Correspondent KG Busari Ahmed with the details.
The regimental sergeant major and the air warrant officers of the Nigerian Air Force are categories of senior non-commissioned officers that play pivotal roles in the regimental duties of the service. Air Chief Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, who said the quarterly meeting with the non-commissioned officers is to lay a solid foundation in the repositioning of the Nigerian Air Force.
Professionalism and regimentation in the service is a very important area of interest that we have. And the RSMs play a very important role. And that is why we meet with them on quarterly basis and also give them guidelines on what is expected.
This lecture has been included in this program to brief you on the steps needed to complement the efforts of your commanders at enhancing regimentation, discipline, and comradeship.
The Air Chief, who had also served as the commander of the air component of Operation Polo Shield, said the Nigerian Air Force is working tirelessly with other services to ensure that the internal security challenge in the South-South is brought to an end. Little wonder the authorities of the Nigerian Air Force seems to place a high premium on the non-commissioned officers in times of training and welfare. From the Nigerian Air Force Conference Center in Abuja, KG Busari Ahmed, NTA News.
Concerned about frequent cases of accidental discharge arising from misapplication of lethal weapons by officers and men of the police force, the Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase, says henceforth new recruits into the force will undergo a comprehensive medical and psychological assessment. Bonaventure Wodo tells us more.
The Inspector General of Police, who stated this at the launching of drug testing of police officers and men against sudden death, also declared that policemen will now undergo snap urine tests for signs of drug abuse before being issued with weapons at their operational point.
Apart from denying access of firearms,
or retrieving guns from officers who face such snap drug tests will provide appropriate help to wean them from drugs or other emotional or psychological distribes that may trigger such unprecedented and fatal outcome in their line of duty.
The IGP, who regretted frequent sudden death of policemen in recent times due to chronic non-communicable diseases like diabetes and hypertension, emphasized the need for healthy living among police officers. He also emphasized his commitment to de-emphasize the use of lethal weapons in some areas of police operation.
My long-term vision is to effectively address issues that engender misuse of firearms and give true meaning to our mandate of safeguarding the lives of our citizens.
The program will be cascaded down to the zones and the state commands to ensure that no police personnel is left behind.
IGP Solomon Arase has taken the issue of welfare of officers and men of the Nigerian police to a higher dimension. Besides housing scheme, scholarship, and other welfare, the police will now be placed on routine tests on chronic and non-communicable disease, including hypertension and diabetics. From International Peacekeeping Center, Bonaventure Modo, NTA News.
Do stay with us here on News Extra. Up ahead, federal government restates commitment to agriculture as National Agriculture Show kicks off. Join us again.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
When you look at the world today, what do you see? The obvious, or much more? Do you hear a color tune, or the talents of thousands paying off? Do you see an instant message, or millions of strengthened relationships? Do you see an app or creative entrepreneurs? An email or multiples of successful business transactions? Do you see charity or renewed faith in our shared humanity? Do you hear the laughter of millions of people in Africa's largest family? It's never enough to see only what's before us. That's why MTN is empowering a tomorrow that's driven by digital technology and made for Africa by Africans.
We must remain steadfast in our commitment to steer this country back to greatness.
He is one of the best brands that we have as a country, and we have to take advantage of that.
Look inwards and see how we'll be able to enhance our resources.
The problem now of Nigeria is man-made. It's just a question of patience and cooperate with the government. Nigeria will go back to those better days.
The man who's leading us, he wouldn't talk much, but he does a lot.
We shall deliver security, jobs, and infrastructure. This is the right of all Nigerians. Our actions will speak for us.
Join the Airtel family today and get 5 times the value of every recharge. Recharge with star 555 star pin hash on the Airtel network and feel at home.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Here comes the sun. La, 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 la. Bright sunny day. La, 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 la. The taste and aroma of Top Tea can leave you feeling good and ready to go. Top Tea also comes in ginger, lemon and lime, and pure black tea. Each pure black tea pack now comes with 2 free tea bags. Take a sip and feel the sunshine in every cup.
Top Tea, big bags of flavor.
The Honorable Minister, Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, Senator Aisha Jumei Al-Hassan, invites Honorable Ministers of relevant ministries, Senate and House Committees on Women Affairs, wives of governors, State Commissioners of Women Affairs, United Nations organizations, development partners, CSOs, security outfits, National Action Plan, National Steering Committee members, and the public to the commemoration of the 15th anniversary of United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325, date 12th to 15th April 2016. Venue, Local Government Service Commission, Conference Hall, Katsina, Katsina State. Time 9 a.m. daily. For further information, please contact Director Women and Gender Affairs 0809-4919-295 or by email Binta A. Bello, Mrs. Permanent Secretary, Announcer.
If you work hard and sow, you deserve a good harvest. That's only fair. If you study hard, you deserve good grades. That's only fair. If you train hard, you deserve to win the prize. That's only fair. If you work hard as an employee, you should have something to show for it. That's only fair. At Premium Pension, we understand it's what you put in that guarantees a secure future. Talk to us today about your pension plan. Premium Pension. The future starts now.
Been there. Let's turn our attention to agriculture matters now. The federal government has reiterated its commitment to redirecting the economic vision of Nigeria by paying more attention to agriculture for sustainable development. The event was the flag-off ceremony of the 2016 National Agricultural Show in Tudunwada, Karu, Nasarawa State. Agatha Joseph Obioha has the details.
Represented by the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Audu Ogbe, President Muhammadu Buhari said, federal government has set a roadmap for agriculture to strive as a major supportive pillar to Nigeria's economy.
We have begun to translate his vision of the present and future for the revival and transformation of the agricultural sector in Nigeria over the medium term as 2016 to 2020.
It is for this reason that I salute Mr. President's wisdom to train thousands of our teeming youth population on agricultural techniques. Groundnut, cotton, palm oil, and others shall rise again.
Participants at the Agri Show speak.
So looking at training the youth in cattle farming, modern cattle farming.
This is Nasarawa, where we have our largest investment in rice. Our investment here is in the neighborhood of about 20 billion naira.
The National Agri Show takes place annually to showcase the performance of farmers and brainstorm on policy directions on agriculture. The theme for this year's National Agricultural Show is Engaging Nigerian Youths in Agriculture. From Kefi, Agatha Joseph Obioha, NTA News.
We're sorry for the unsteady pictures in some parts of that report. In the meantime, agricultural economists have observed that high demand for and supply of Nigeria's agricultural produce and the establishment of marketing boards assisted significantly in the development of the country's economy through the 60s and 70s. In this report, Musa Baba Aliu takes a look at agriculture in Nigeria and its contribution to the economy.
After the discovery of oil, agriculture continued to contribute largely to the socioeconomic growth of Nigeria. Even with the abolition of marketing board, coupled with the environmental challenges which have affected farmers' output, Nigeria has continued to produce enough food for local and international markets. Investigations show that most West African countries depend on Nigeria for their staples such as maize, cowpea and guinea corn.
From Kano and Megatari Market in Jigawa, trucks are on their way to Niger, some even to Libya, carrying grains from Nigeria. From the Lela Market in Sokoto, trucks are on their way to Mali, even Senegal, carrying food from this country.
Economists are of the view that Nigeria gains little or nothing from these informal transactions.
If you do not meet the approved standards and grades and quality of the commodity, cannot be traded on the floor of the exchange.
We cannot achieve substantial sustainable development unless the research system, agricultural research system, extension system, education system is put in such a strong foundation that can drive it.
This administration has never minced words on the need to boost the agricultural sector. We will not sit idly by and watch our agricultural resources waste away. Our reforms will address the labor composition in agriculture.
The federal government says efforts are underway to strengthen the nation's commodity market to drive maximum benefit from the both formal and informal transactions. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Experts say challenges facing the nation's technological drive can be addressed through the adoption of right policies, funding and concerted efforts. Talato Ezerike reports that they were speaking on NTA's program Tuesday Live. Take a look.
Science and technology are major determinants of any nation's growth and development. Analysts say Nigeria in the 60s to the 80s recorded giant strides in science and technology, especially with the promotion of indigenous technology. But over the years, there were challenges occasioned by so much dependence on oil, weak or non-implementation of science and technology policies, high culture of importation, and even poor funding.
In other countries, there's science and technology and innovation fund. And this fund is, the fixed deposit. It is the interest that is used in funding science and technology research and development. Today, I must praise Mr. President. This is the first time we haven't a budget that is over 20 billion in science and technology.
For others, there's a need to tighten all loose ends.
First of all, we protect the intellectual property. That is one problem which we normally face, particularly our researchers, our scientists. Let's put heavy tariff on some of those commodities coming into the system. Even if you can afford, you have to afford it at a higher price.
If we think of, for example, that we adopt the overall policy that what we need, we must produce, this country will become, in the next 2 years, perhaps the most industrialized. South Korea, they did it. There was a time if you went to South Korea, you cannot see, if you saw a foreign car, it belonged to an ambassador. All the cars they used there were made manufactured in Korea there. And we had it at a time, if you remember.
Experts say Nigerians must get it right with science and technology for industrialization to measure up with the developed countries. Talati Ezerike, NTA News.
And turning to the education sector now, the Committee of Provosts of Federal, State and Private Colleges of Education in the country has appealed to government to reintroduce Grade 2 teachers' certificates to help check the falling standard of education in the country. This was at its quarterly meeting in Abuja. Abdullahi Musa Suleja reports.
Despite the quantum of private and public schools at all tiers of education, standard of education is believed to be going down over the years. It is against this and other challenges that the Committee of Provosts of Federal, State and Private Colleges of Education in Nigeria meet as part of its quarterly meeting to discuss and propose solutions to the lingering problems. The provosts believe that contemporary facilities in education are far more available than the ones in those days, but the pupils and students do not get the required knowledge because of the absence of teacher training and the urge that non-professionals are taking up the job.
It is as a result of not having good teachers that could deliver a very good curriculum that we have, that we are talking about falling standard. At the teacher education level, we'll have grade 3 certificate teacher that will be teaching. We'll have grade 2, we have grade 1, we have the associate teacher, both at the primary and secondary school level. The day we abrogated grade 2 certificate, that happened to be the day we killed teacher education.
Ignatius Nwanze is the chairman of the committee.
I attended teacher training college, and that was when education has standard. If we must professionalize teaching, we must start with the introduction of our teacher training colleges.
In Abuja, Abdullahi Musa Sleja, NTA News.
In another development, the federal government is strategizing to capture thousands of boys in the southeast who dropped out of school for trading, especially in Imo State. Franca Uzoma Olwa reports that the construction of vocational schools is designed to equip the children with not only numeracy skills but also lifelong learning to enable them face the world of work.
When it comes to access to education in Nigeria, every state has its own peculiar challenges. Imo, though an educationally advantaged state, has issues of gender disparity with more girls in school than boys.
Imo, we belong to the state where we have too many dropouts. I mean boys dropouts. Because educated ones were being treated partly in the past, they said, no, there's no point for me to waste my time. Let me go out to my business.
Against this background, the federal government is constructing vocational schools in many parts of the state to bring back the boys to school.
The Boy Child Vocational School located in Olu is another federal government UBEC project designed to map up out-of-school boys in Imo State.
The school, expected to take off in the next 4 months, will be equipped with boarding and day facilities.
Yeah, immediately they finish the remaining work. We provide the materials, instructional materials, the laboratories, the workshops, and because it is boarding, we provide also the beds, the mattresses, and everything.
But what measure is the state taking to attract the boys to school?
The project is actually boys out of school. So we are going to painstakingly get students for the school.
This is the first establishment from federal government in the whole Mbe. From the time the war started.
However, the swampy nature of the soil in Umokosi, Amozu, Ahiazumbise, location for another skills acquisition center, is affecting progress of work.
They need more filling of the area so that when the rain comes, it may not wash up our erosion.
The popular Owerri Girls Secondary School is also a beneficiary of federal government UBEC direct intervention.
20 tables, 20 computers. Tell the contractor to bring the remaining.
The aim of the inspection is to ensure that money released by the federal government to develop infrastructure for conducive learning environment in schools is judiciously used. Franca Uzoma Olwa, NTA News.
The federal government has continued to show commitment towards realizing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that have bearing on women and the girl child. This is contained in a message of the wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, at the International Strategic Alliance Committee's Empowerment Seminar in London. Bilkisu Abdurazak Odoye has the details.
The seminar with the theme, Implementing the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, with focus on women in Nigeria, is aimed at addressing issues of gender equality and review strategies that will support a successful outcome. To this end, issues relating to assistance programs for women in internally displaced camps, as well as education and legislation as a means of empowering women and the girl child, were discussed.
More and more women are becoming entrepreneurs. More and more women are creating roles. In terms of taking positions in government and political leaderships, it's still a struggle.
We still continue to create that awareness about the rights of women, the rights to education, the rights to health, the rights to ownership of economic resources like land and credit facilities.
You don't make a decision regarding a woman if the woman is not there. It will just be a decision made on paper or made because it's not going to work. If you want to help me, ask me how you can help me.
Representative of the wife of Nigeria's president, Haja Meru Al-Makura, said the Nigerian government is doing everything possible to alleviate the sufferings of women and children through various policies and programs.
The federal government of Nigeria is doing everything possible to uplift the women folks, free medical treatment for women.
Though this seminar is about women or gender equality, the women folk are saying, give a lifting hand to the next generation so that the world can be a better place as the women take their rightful places beside their men. From London, Bilkisu Abdurazak Uduoye, NTA News. And for a bit on health, the National Agency for the Control of HIV and AIDS, NACA, says it will continue to welcome support from stakeholders. The Director General, NACA, Professor John Idoko, said this while meeting with members of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs at the NACA headquarters in Abuja. Let's get more on this from Aisha Uba Ali.
For the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, the quest to ending HIV/AIDS in Nigeria needs partnership. This informed the meeting with the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs. Discussions at this meeting between NACA and the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs was on strengthening collaboration and how the religious body will coordinate with NACA to provide comprehensive prevention, treatment, care, and support services to fighting HIV/AIDS. The NACA DG and Chief Operating Officer, Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Professor Ishaq Oluyede, agreed on getting a structural plan to synergize efforts of the two bodies and to measure progress of their collaborations. They submitted that the structural plan will promote an up-to-date running of NACA's activities in Nigeria, as well as develop the country's health sector.
We have reassured the agency of our commitment to collaborating with the agency. We use the pulpit and they will use the microphone, and we combine this to make sure that we combat HIV/AIDS in this country.
We've been working with them, and they have been a major partner in trying to reduce the HIV scourge. So what we're trying to do now is we want to continue the momentum, want to sustain it, and as we look towards ending HIV, we need more of their partnership.
Since advocacy is key to ending HIV/AIDS, the team from this Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs promised to work with NACA in the campaign against the pandemic. In Abuja, Aisha Uba Ali, NTA News.
Towards ending overloading of vehicles on Nigeria's roads, the leadership of the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, has met with heads of relevant transport unions in Nigeria. Corps Marshal of the FRSC, Boboye Oyeyemi, at the stakeholders meeting said proper sensitization is key to tackling the menace of overloading and disobedience to traffic regulations. Saliu Abdullahi reports.
The issue of stopping vehicle overloading in Nigeria and ensuring that the Federal Road Safety Corps is committed to this cause, total safety of road users, was part of the motion passed on the floor of the Senate. The motion therefore informed this meeting at the instance of the FRSA Corps Marshal, Boboye Oyeyemi, with relevant stakeholders in the road transport sector. The road transport operators admitted that overloading of vehicles is a major problem and stressed the need for collaborative efforts to check the trend. They call for the establishment of functional trailer parks as well as weigh bridges in strategic locations on the nation's highway. The Corps Marshal Boboye Oyeyemi said joint collaboration with road transport operators is necessary to stopping overloading in the country adding that the corps is putting in place measures towards achieving total compliance.
But I think the major thing I must appreciate is that we have resolved that this overloading must stop.
The take home is to tell all our members across the nation that they should make sure that they should not overload their vehicles, either from the motor parks or outside the motor parks.
Leaders of the road transport unions applauded FRSC for being proactive in achieving its mandate and assured the corps that they will continue to encourage their members on the need to obey traffic regulations. Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Let's head to Lafia now, where the Nasarawa State House of Assembly has set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the allegation of bribery scandal as alleged by the 6 suspended members that their colleagues collected money to support the nomination of sole administrators for the 11 local government areas of the state. The Deputy Speaker of the State Assembly, Godia Akwashiki, said this at a media briefing. Ahmed Ondas has more on that report.
The Deputy Speaker of the House, Godia Akwashiki, assured that the committee will do a thorough investigation that will bring peace back to the Nasarawa State House of Assembly. He noted that the committee is charged with the mandate to determine the veracity of the allegation made by the 6 suspended members. He further says the suspension of the 6 members was as a result of consistent violation of House rules, as well as their quest for leadership of the House.
All this crisis is also about the leadership of the House. So I want to say no, a total no, that the crisis of this House is on sole administrator. No, I say no to that.
He also debunked the insinuation that the House has adjourned indefinitely, saying normal plenary will resume on Monday. 17 members of the Nasarawa State House of Assembly were in attendance at the press conference. It will be recalled that the House had a rounding session on Monday following disagreement by members over some issues at the plenary. In Lafia, I am Ahmed Ondas, NT News.
And back here in Abuja, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, says the commission has put in place all necessary logistics for free, fair and credible FCT area council elections coming up on the 9th of this month. He gave the assurance at a meeting between INEC and other stakeholders ahead of Saturday's polls. Daniel Menson tells us more.
The INEC chairman, who briefed the gathering on the level of its preparedness for the forthcoming elections, appealed to the political class and their supporters to cooperate with the commission in ensuring a peaceful elections. He also disclosed that there will be a curfew from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday.
And I'm confident that the spirit of understanding and commitment to free and fair polls prevailing at this meeting will be extended to the campaign, the polling units, the collection centers, and the aftermath of the declaration of winners.
We are on top of our job. We are going to police every inch of FCT, and we invite the public to partner with us.
The INEC resident electoral commissioner in charge of FCT, Professor Jacob Jato, also expressed concern on the low number of people that have collected their PVCs.
People should go to their polling unit where they register, because the card readers are configured to read the cards of those polling units. So
more than 1 million registered voters are expected to vote in the election. INEC warned that only those with permanent voter cards will be allowed to vote. In Abuja, Daniel Manson, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has been commended for standing firm on the election of the 11 PDP legislators from Anambra State already discharging their duties at the National Assembly. Joseph Orok reports that the Indibo Youth Organization gave the commendation at a solidarity rally in Abuja.
The election of the 11 federal legislators from Anambra State has in recent times been a subject of discourse. While some people are in support of their elections, some are against it. But this youth group says this should not be the case, as the National Assembly members who have since been given their certificates of return by INEC, were duly elected by Anambra people.
They have been doing everything they can to cajole, blackmail, and INEC to succumb to issuing their certificate of return. When they were nowhere during the election, they did not participate in the electoral process. We know as a fact that it's only the National Executive Committee of PDP that has the powers to conduct primaries and send lists of successful candidates to INEC for some.
They urged the political class and the PDP faithful in Anambra State to continue to support their elected legislators. The protesters are saying that their decision to support the member of the National Assembly from Anambra State is because they were duly elected from a panel set up by the National Executive Committee of the PDP. In Abuja, Joseph Oro, NTA News.
You're watching News Extra on the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. Up ahead, business news after these messages. Do stay with us.
Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Enjoy the creamy taste of new Cadbury Bonvita, made from rich chocolate, vitamins and minerals in an attractive new pack. Cadbury Bonvita, prepare to win.
Trying a shot, and he's got in, John Fashionu's fifth goal of the season, and what a spectacular...
Great Nigerian people, great Nigerian products, all made in Nigeria.
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 Tonight is made in Nigeria. Quality is guaranteed.
Nice, made in Nigerian good.
Made in Nigeria is where we are going now.
Thank you for being there. Freight forwarders urge government to partner stakeholders in the ownership of indigenous vessels. This and more with Abdullahi Muhammad on Business News.
Good to have you join us on Business News. The success of the federal government's drive to promote the export of non-oil products from Nigeria as against reliance on oil depends largely on the ownership of indigenous vessels. These vessels are expected to ease the cost of exporting goods from Nigerian ports to other parts of the world. The leadership of indigenous freight forwarders stated this in Lagos. The huge traffic carrying foreign goods into Nigeria ports has reduced significantly. Experts say what is more important now is to stimulate a reversed scenario.
People have been exporting, but it is not reasonable. There's no balance of trade in that regard.
Achieving this means that the Nigerian ports will be characterized by vessels loading made in Nigeria goods and heading to different parts of the world. For this to happen, experts say the Nigerian government must initiate partnerships that will lead to the ownership of indigenous vessels.
Import into Nigeria is based on cost insurance rate. Export from Nigeria is on FOB value. You can see the amount of money this country is losing on the issue of freight rates. So if we go into export really, Nigeria continue to lose money, and therefore the need for us to become a maritime nation becomes very paramount. And that is when you use the word maritime nation, then you should be talking about flying flags. That is ownership of vessels.
That in place, the activities of freight forwarders and other related activities in the ports will provide at least 50,000 jobs for Nigerian youths. And that's business news. Thanks for being part of it. News Extra continues shortly.
Thank you, Abdullahi. The Board of Directors and Management of Zenith Bank PLC have approved a dividend of ₦1.80 per share to shareholders in the financial year ended December 31st, 2015. Chairman of the board, Jim Ovia, disclosed this at the 25th Annual General Meeting of the bank in Lagos.
In spite of increasing economic challenges, the management of Zenith Bank PLC says it has sustained its profitability in the financial year ended December 31st, 2015. The chairman, Jim Ovia, says the bank realized a total deposit of 2.33 trillion naira, representing 3% increase from the 2.27 trillion naira recorded in the previous year. Profit after tax rose from 92.48 billion naira to 98.78 billion naira in 2015. The performance indices of Zenith Bank Group was impressive as profit after tax increased from 99.45 billion naira in 2014 to 105.66 billion naira in 2015. Group Managing Director, Zenith Bank, says the bank will continue to deliver superior financial returns to its shareholders.
Most of our subsidiaries in Africa, even in UK, there were quite a lot of challenges, but we still tried to record some measure of growth. The least we can do is to appreciate the shareholders by paying them a handsome dividend.
Shareholders applaud the bank's performance in the year under review.
Any company that is giving returns to their shareholder, they have them in mind.
I have to commend them for that, and I have to commend them for the profit they make.
This is really above industry average, and it further portrays the bank as a strong bank in Nigeria, and the indices are very, very encouraging.
So what is next is that they should continue the trend.
Zenith Bank PLC, the management insists, has maintained its culture of outstanding performance and industry leadership. In line with this, Zenith Bank has won several awards, including Best Corporate Governance Bank in Nigeria, World Finance Banking Award, Global Banking, and Finance Review.
Massive investments and development of critical infrastructure by LADOL are facilitating investments. It is also providing for the needs of offshore operations and contributing to a viable economy in Nigeria. This observation was made by the Comptroller General, Nigeria Customs Service, Colonel Hamid Ali, after inspecting LADOL facilities in Lagos.
The visit of the Comptroller General is to ascertain the level of compliance with government's policies and also to ensure that LADOL's activities facilitate the maintenance and support of oil and gas projects to meet the needs of offshore operations.
We are impressed with what is on the ground, and it's one of the most successful indigenous company that is involved in heavy equipment building, because it eventually will create jobs, and that's what President Buhari is all talking about. We want jobs for our people, and if we can, transfer of technologies.
Areas inspected include the warehouse, fabrication workshop, assembly yard, painting and blasting shop, among other areas. The Managing Director of LADOL, Amy Jadesimi, while highlighting the activities of the organization, explained that LADOL is committed to supporting multinational companies engaged in large-scale vessel fabrication, repairs, offshore oil and gas exploration, as well as production.
LADOL is a strategic economic investment and a strategic industrial free zone because there's such a huge multiplier effect from the investments we're making here, and also because we're the single largest capacity development by a company that is 100% indigenous Nigerian.
The Lagos Deep Offshore Logistics Base Ladol is a one-stop shop for multinational industries, including oil and gas companies operating in the Gulf of Guinea.
A lot of activities have been taking place in Benin Kingdom of recent. Find out some of them in the next part. We'll be right back.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The production, distribution, and sale of counterfeit and fake drugs is a corrupt practice and a crime against humanity. This has informed several measures and strategies to combat fake drugs, including introduction of anti-counterfeiting cutting-edge technologies to detect fake drugs on the spot. These technologies are being deployed to all the states across the Federation, as well as the internally displaced people's camps. The President, Muhammadu Buhari, and his team are committed to this fight.
The federal government of Nigeria, in line with its anti-corruption agenda and posture, will fight a total war against fake drugs and other unwholesome regulated products in order to ensure that Nigerians remain healthy and well.
Lend your support and join NAFDAC to rid the country of fake drugs and unwholesome regulated products. NAFDAC, safeguarding the health of the nation.
Are you aware that the death percentage attributed to Lassa fever cases is currently put at 43.2%, a figure considered very high? Lassa fever, an acute viral illness characterized by high fever, muscle aches, mouth ulcers, and bleeding in the skin, is harbored by rats and spread to humans via the urine and droppings of rats. To prevent Lassa fever, avoid any exposure with rodents, rats, as well as food and objects contaminated with rat secretions and excretions. Report all suspected cases of Lassa fever immediately to the nearest healthcare institution. Help prevent Lassa fever. This message is from the Federal Government of Nigeria.
Hello again, you're watching News Extra on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Since the enthronement of the Crown Prince of Benin Kingdom, series of activities have been carried out in fulfillment of the ascension requirements. One of the rites concluded is the presentation of titles to the wives, Sele Osayande reports.
Mentioned. The first thing that comes to one's mind is the culture of the people and their reverence for the traditional institutions. Although other cultures may seem to have gone into extinction, not so for the Beninese, especially when it comes to their royalty. Venue of the conferment of the titles by the Crown Prince on his 3 wives, which is part of the Inyanye rites, was at the Edaiken Nuselu's palace. The first wife, Princess Irorama Diawa, is now Oba Zwaye Nerie. The second wife, Princess Iyayota Diawa, was conferred with the title of Oba Zuwa Nerie, while the third wife, Princess Ikpakpa Diawa, is to be addressed as Ohe Nerie.
Is the Edaiken honoring his wives and lifting them a little bit higher, penultimate to when, by the grace of God, they will become Iloi of Benin.
Meanwhile, since the stay of the Edaiken Selu in this community, the people are happy that he is dwelling in their midst. And economic activities in this community has also taken an upward trend.
Today, Edake being here has put life into the Usilu area.
Ken is in Usilu right now, and we are very happy. Everywhere is peaceful.
Since the Crown Prince was enthroned, the Edaiken Palace, venue of where all the traditional rites have been observed, has also created an avenue for the rich Bini culture to be showcased. In Benin, Selo Sinde, NTA News.
It's International Day of Sports and Nigeria joined in observing it. The details ahead. Join us again.
Discover the refreshing taste of new Guinness Africa Special. Alive inside with natural African extracts.
It is with a deep sense of loss that the IGP Solomon Arase announces the passage to glory of Chief Sunday Adewusi, GCON, IGP retired. The fifth indigenous IGP passed on the 26th of January 2016 at the age of 79 at the National Hospital Abuja after a brief illness. The era program for the iconic police commander indicates Tuesday 5th April, Tributes and Cultural Day. Wednesday 6th April, Lion Estate, Service of Songs and Night of Tribute. Thursday 7th April, Commendation Service and Wake. Friday 8th April, Lion Estate, Funeral Service, Funeral Parade and Interment. Venue, Adewusi House, Lautek Area, Ilorin Road, Ogbomoso. Reception follows immediately after interment at Ogbomoso Recreation Club, Ilorin Road, Ogbomoso. As the Nigerian police family joins other Nigerians to mourn and pay the last deserving respect to these police colossus, his wisdom and fatherly guidance on policing and national security matters shall be eternally missed. We trust that he is resting peacefully in the bosom of the Almighty. Announcer, IGP Solomon Igiato Arase, FDC, NPM, Inspector General of Police.
What a friend we have in Jesus.
With heavy hearts but gratitude to God for a life of service to humanity, we announce the death of our son, brother, husband, father and uncle, Dr. Boniface Ifeanyi Conrad Onubogu, Ugumba Achina, aged 72 years. Burial arrangement, April 7, 2016, by 7 p.m. There will be service of songs and night of tribute at the Catholic Church of Divine Mercy, Lekki Phase 1 in Lagos. Friday, 8 April, Commendation Mass by 10 a.m. at the Catholic Church of Divine Mercy, Lekki Phase 1. April 13th, Vigil Mass at his hometown, Umueleke Village, Achina, in Agwata local government area of Anambra State. Time, 5 p.m. Burial takes place on April 14th after a Requiem Mass at St. Charles Catholic Church, Achina, by 10 a.m. He is survived by wife, children, and siblings. Signed, Dr. Ifeanyi Onubogu, Jr., for the family.
Take it to the Lord in prayer.
Elsewhere, Angolan government seeks help from International Monetary Fund to ameliorate negative effects of oil price fall. More foreign reports on Global Tidbits with Ronke Kolawole.
The World Health Organization, in its latest report, says diabetes has taken an unrelenting march against the world as it now affects nearly 1 in 11 adults and linked it with 3.7 million deaths across the globe annually. The organization hence called for a drastic action to effectively control the disease. The Kenyan government and UNESCO have in Paris signed an agreement for the advancement of digital learning in the country. And less than a week after the arrival of the UN-backed National Unity Government in Libya, one of the two rival governments, the National Salvation, said it is stepping down to save the country from bloodshed and division. Libya has suffered years of factional power struggles following the fall of autocratic leader Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. In Harare, the Zimbabwean capital, women took to the streets to demonstrate against the Kuwaiti government for an abuse of workers in the Gulf state. In Turkey, prosecutors have launched an investigation into an alleged data leak of personal information of about 50 million citizens out of the estimated 70 million population. For Global Tidbits, Runke Kolawole, NTA News.
April 6 is the United Nations International Day of Sport for Development and Peace, which recognizes the power of sport in promoting peace and erasing cultural barriers worldwide. Nigeria is not left out in the observance of the day. Here is Kene Ema Abodike with the details.
The International Day of Sport for Development and Peace aims to bring goodwill and positive social outcomes through sporting achievement. Proclaimed on August 23, 2013 by the United Nations, the observance of the day promotes healthy lifestyles and emphasizes the International Olympic Committee's focus on giving as many people as possible access to sport. It is a day when some of the world's leading sports people work together with communities to enrich lives, particularly children. The essence of the day couldn't have been lost on stakeholders in Abuja who converged on the media center of the National Stadium to remind one another of the need to achieve goodwill, healthy competition and cooperation across all cultures.
Our main aim is to make sure that we're able to mobilize people from the grassroots and bring them up to stardom so that they will realize their dream, and it will also help economic activities.
The internally displaced persons camp at Wasa near Apo was another port of call for the stakeholders who distributed over 500 balls in a bid to encourage young people to take to sport.
Let's play for sustainable development goals is the theme of this year's International Day of Sport for Development and Peace, a global observance that offers everyone an opportunity to uphold the essential values of sharing, mutual respect,